r/ask Reddit. What do you miss about the early internet? Getting an email about a person ducking a horse, then opening that email and seeing someone duck a horse. No spam, no data collection, just a concerned individual who thought that you maybe hadn't seen that and would want to. Amen. Did you just amen a horse ducking email? The randomness of the old internet. It felt like it was truly ran by the people. Now it feels super corporate and designed. Everything is planned. The mainstream internet basically is run by large tech companies. Now the smaller sites seem like hole-in-the-wall bars that you have to actively seek out or stumble into. I used to visit at least 15 to 20 different sites before social media and news aggregate sites like Digg and Reddit became a thing. Now, I can barely remember which sites are still even online or active for that matter. What are those sites and bars? Reddit used to be one, but it doesn't count. Neither does 4chan or 8chan. Actually chatting with people on instant messenger. Before smartphones and even permanent cable DSL connections. You to sit at your computer and both log onto the internet and log into instant messenger. You knew when someone was on and could chat, and knew that you'd not be bothering them in the middle of something. Also you had no problem ending a chat and just walking away because you had other stuff to do. Now I feel with everyone online all the time, you don't really have that dedicated chat time like before. Too true. Before you'd have really lengthy and in-depth conversations over a reasonably short period of time like an hour or two. Now the same words can be spoken but it can take place across 6 days instead because there's no impetus to sustain it in one go. I met a girl my age on a chat room called Chatpit. We would set up times to chat there because her parents wouldn't let her download AIM or MSN Messenger. She was my best friend of my childhood and both our parents were convinced the other was some creepy middle-aged man. Sending someone an email as a pure novelty and phoning them to let them know, as they might not check for weeks. Remember how everyone thought it was the end of postal service forever? Edit. OMG people. Yes, I know it did change the postal system. It didn't end the postal service forever. There was a bunch of doom and gloom talk at the time saying the postal service would die off. That didn't happen. It's not the end but it's definitely affected it. Any newsletter goes through my email and letters are novelties for the holidays and birthdays. Not ended by any means but it's become a lot more about shipping than letters. How you'd spend forever crafting the perfect away message on AIM. With just the right overly dramatic song lyrics and font and color, and then you'd change it again in a few minutes. Also, there was a time where your parents didn't have Facebook and posting those pictures of everyone drunk at a kegger wasn't going to get you in serious trouble. Now all those photos are gone because no one wants to get fired for shit we did 10 years ago. Away message. If you were homework, I'd be doing you right now. In the end it does nt even matter. Waiting for your crush to get on MSN Messenger. And then if they don't immediately say hello you change your status to offline and then online again so that they get the little pop-up saying you've logged in. Then if they don't talk to you still, changing your status to away so they don't know you're desperately waiting. Then if they still don't talk you can always hit them with half a random story and then say sorry, wrong person. And then if that .ai learned doesn't work, you need to change your screen name to include some dark emo lyrics. Or just nudge them until they get pissed off and block you, then you message a mutual friend with I need to talk to X, can you add us to a group? The crappy, but oddly hilarious, animated flash videos. So simple and so weird. Open bracket. Think albino black sheep, Nuggetbug, and E-Baum's World. And back when you could search funny cat video on YouTube and actually find one and not a 10-hour compilation of random cat videos that the channel said was funny for more clicks. Or back when regular people were uploading silly or fun videos and it wasn't all people with sets and producers and making videos for profit. Frog in the Blender by Joe Cartoon was my fave. Superfly. The lost art of the Flash animation. I still enjoy trips to Newgrounds and my old favorites from pre-2012. The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Personal websites. GeoCities. Angelfire. Freewebs. Zoom. When I was in junior high, I could wow people with my self-taught HTML skills. My personal websites had fancy image map navigations and other cool stuff. Nowadays, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn have replaced the personal website. Personally, I think that people should go back to personal websites. I've had my own for about 4 years. No one ever goes to it unless I send them there, but it's a much better outlet than ranting on Reddit or something. And you have total control of its content. That's one advantage over social media platforms. The fact that you could leave it, especially with dial-up. You went online for maybe half an hour and then you logged off entirely and carried on living your life. Now, anytime you're awake, you're connected to it non-stop. Dude's not right now though. I am just in bed browsing Reddit. Oh wait. I think I'll leave Reddit and search another site for a while. Tabs open Reddit. The lack of algorithms to recommend things that you might like. Now they recommend things I might like, and they are always wrong. Wait, are you telling me you don't like pages about the different variations of apples from all around the world as the algorithm predicted? Smaller, independent websites. The average internet experience is now Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Amazon, maybe Twitch. If you compare Twitch to Justin TV when it first started, it's just so commercial. There's nothing wrong with that of course. But when I think back to the early web, before big tech companies got their hands on everything, it just seemed less streamlined. The internet has been made smaller by people wanting to limit users to their content. I used to go on a great website called Student.com. It was very much early social media, but it felt nothing like Facebook. It felt more like somebody trying to create a community. The admins spoke to the users, not just about site stuff, but just general chat. It felt more like the Wild West, like there was stuff to explore. Now it's just something to scroll down on your smartphone. Honestly, it's kind of like if all of the neat, locally owned stores and restaurants in your town got overrun and replaced with corporate big box stores and chains. Sure, maybe those locally owned places showed you a dude shoving a glass jar up his ass while you were trying to eat, but at least it wasn't an Olive Garden. Just Twitter. Avi never forget. I won't. Edit. Guys, you gotta slow down on the upvotes. This is my main account. I don't need my most upvoted comments to be about a video a dude fishing a broken glass jar out of his ass. This might sound needlessly convoluted, but I miss when there was a clear divide between being online and offline. When going online was something you had to commit to, like you'd just be writing a Word document or playing a game or whatever offline but would decide I want to go online now to look something up and would have to click connect. The whole always online thing which has crept up on us over the years does annoy me a little. I remember buying Skyrim from a game store in 2011, probably the last boxed PC game I ever bought, and being annoyed when I came home and installed it only to find that it required me to open it through Steam, even though I'd installed it entirely on my machine from physical disks. In my mind at the time, Steam was a platform for playing online multiplayer games like Counter-Strike. Why on earth would you need it for a locally installed single player game? I realized recently that abbreviations like AFKB, Right Back and BBL are pretty much obsolete now. We carry the internet with us everywhere. We never leave. It's great and terrible at the same time. Sometimes I hate that I feel like I can't disconnect and put it away. Don't worry, those abbreviations are alive and well in MMOs. Searching for something and getting several results that were just people's personal web pages they made because they liked the topic. I still remember searching for stuff about Star Wars action figures and finding http://www.wiseacres.com. There's not much on the page now. The Star Wars stuff is all at rebelscom.com now, but it still has the old Timmy internet look. He also used to have a live webcam feed of him in his office and you could click a button and it would notify him and he'd wave at the camera. I think we traded, or maybe I bought some action figures from him. Just stuff like that in general when it was people making sites about their interests for the fun of it rather than trying to build their brand or whatever. Man, that site took about 36x less time to load than any modern website. www.methodakingwebsite.com. Web pages that didn't move, pop up or rely on over 9,000 external scripts that have to load before the page is usable. I guess you started internet in that brief period after dancing Jesus, rotating flaming skull gifs and scrolling marquees. But before pop-ups, scripts and autoplay videos. Ducking hate that skull gif. When a lot of people put up content and spent a lot of time making something online just for the sake of doing so, instead of following some formula for success. When people weren't concerned about using the internet to make money and get big, and were just exploring this new media. Hey guys, Random Dong Face here. Make sure you smash subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. Consistently updated Strong Bad Homester cartoons. Trog the board game was just funded with $1.5 million. How cool Xiao Xiao and basically all stick fighting flash videos were at the time. Stickpitch.com was the shit. My go-to was stickdeath.com. Privacy. These days your every move is monitored by some company or another for the sake of gathering personal marketing data, where this seemed to be much less the case in the early days. Related to this come all the clickbait, obvious propaganda, etc. Of course, this could just be an impression, as I've simply grown more conscious about these things over the years. NoScript and Ublk help. When a page isn't allowed to run that majority of what it wants to run, it severely cuts down on what it can monitor. Certainly not all of it, but it helps a lot. Back in the day when a program that sent away any information was called spyware and shunned globally versus now when every app is spyware and proud about it. AOL chat rooms. OSL 17F Cali U XOXO. Helpful forums with a sense of community. I mean, you had to dig for it, but you'd find these forums where you could ask for advice on stuff, be it a game, writing, movies, whatever, and they were like these little insulated worlds. Like picking up a rock and watching what was under it. It was this whole thing. There were big names who cycled around, and everyone ended up knowing everyone after a while. Now it seems every forum I enter is just a bunch of people yelling at each other. There's no community. There's no need for it. People wander in for like 2 days, then vanish. I miss that community feel. Yes, this. Until maybe 2006 there were forums where you actually became friends with other members over time. You got to know each user's personality, know a bit about their lives. People even met up for a beer if they happened to be traveling to the right city, or make mixtapes and mail copies to each other. If someone didn't show up for a few weeks, people would get worried and someone would drop them an email. There was a real sense of community. I genuinely believe that some of the people I got to know in those forums made me into the person I am today. You know how subreddits have a sweet spot where it's active enough so that there is daily interesting content, but hasn't devolved to karma whoring and shitposting? The whole internet was in that sweet spot, like 2003 to 2008. 1995 to 2003 to 1993 to 1994 things were a little thin. Lemua. Download the free version to get the premium paid for version for free. Kazaa. That only relatively tech-savvy, relatively intelligent people use the internet. There were some trolls, but you didn't have the hordes of morons that you have now. I know this sounds elitist, but it was sort of a hideout for nerds. Old school nerds, when nerd was seen as a bad thing. People don't realize how much it has changed, I feel. In the late 1990s, the popular teenage kids at my school would laugh at me and my friends for communicating a lot through the internet. Not in a mean way, but like, oh my god, I can't believe you socially awkward nerds talk through screens. Nowadays it's the opposite. The more nerdy people are much more wary about social media, while all the popular kids and their grandparents do it. The sheer freedom we had, and the amount of crazy shit that was easily found. Nowadays everything feels like it's behind barriers. You follow one link sometimes and it can take you down the rabbit hole of ducked up shit. I absolutely don't want to go back to it, but I do miss when content on YouTube was kinda limited, and the community was tighter because of it. You'd get a cool channel, sub for sub, comment, you'd go to their channel, see that there was some 19-year-old from Oklahoma that seemed cool enough, so you'd sub. And even though their content sucked and had no consistent theme, you'd watch anyway because what else was really there that you hadn't already seen? You'd watch this 19-year-old upload a new video every few days. Just random shit. Like him playing guitar, him filming his TV as he played GTA, him uploading videos of JPEG images just to use them as avatars, etc. And you'd feel oddly connected to this dude in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, uploading videos of him and his friends doing the cinnamon challenge. And chances are, you never even noticed that he stopped uploading videos, and you don't know how he or any of those people in those videos are doing now. But for a moment in 2006-2007, you felt like you were there in that room, watching him play GTA as his stereo gently hummed "It Ends Tonight" by the All American Rejects in the background, as well as the occasional sound of his sister arguing with his mom. And that's ducking crazy to think about now. Edit. Before you say that isn't early internet. Well, yeah, but YouTube is a very prominent part of the modern internet, and this is talking about it in its early stages, over a decade ago. Sometimes I deliberately find videos from 2006 to 2009. Never knowing exactly what you were going to end up with when downloading things from Napster, I ended up pretty scarred from what I found when I opened up the files. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Yup, I once downloaded what I thought was a movie, which one I can't remember, the big blockbuster at the time, with my intrigued parents stood behind me, because I had explained what I was doing. Opened it up and boom, the most hardcore porn I had ever seen in my life to that point. The screeching when you lifted the phone. https://www.youtube.com watch v equals 5 misop 0 vyi 0 for when I feel nostalgic. For anyone at work who can't play it, I'll do my best. What I miss is how mysterious the internet could be and how gullible we were. The internet felt like this strange underbelly of obscure information. First you're growing up in some little town and only know about Star Wars and Green Day. Then suddenly you're finding niche websites and reading about obscure movies and bands and movies you definitely won't find on the radio or in the video store. You'd find dedicated fan sites that had deleted scenes from Alien that you'd never even heard of. You'd find bizarre paranormal websites that every story felt so real and believable. Every low-res UFO and ghost picture could be real. Every story was accepted as real. I read the Ted the Caver Geocities page back then at 2 in the morning and was totally convinced it was real. Nowadays we're skeptical of every story and some Photoshop guy will dissect any picture and reveal how the shadows don't fall right or something. If you could find the right program and file, you could download pretty much any Nintendo game ever. Your tiny world and library of just Mario and Ninja Gaiden completely exploded with potential. I was now able to play this holy grail Chrono Trigger I'd always heard of, or I would go through great lengths to find a good English patch of this Japanese only game called Front Mission. And you'd convince yourself that you weren't stealing because Nintendo hadn't sold these games for years. They were unobtainable. You felt like a hacker and a pirate doing that stuff. The internet back then made you feel like an explorer on the fringe. The mysterious frontier just waiting for you to engage its endless opportunity. Man, I miss that shit. Ike, I know it's still around, but it's not the same. Being able to jack off to a girl in her underwear without seeing so much as a single nipple. Now if she isn't animated and has a tentacle in her ass I can't get off. Over exaggeration obviously. Well, kinda. That's just porn addiction. Less ads. Depends on your browsing habits. Whereas sites would launch 20 pop-ups before you could block pop-ups. Unless you wanted to use the Opera browser. Google revolutionized the simple text ad. Forums. When you started going to a forum, you'd start to see regulars and different threads. You'd get to know them, what they like, what their opinions about stuff. You'd make friends. You just don't have the same with modern social media, full of people whom you already know IRL, or sites like Reddit. You never get to know anyone. Being able to read skim Usenet newsgroups I had subscribed to in under an hour each day. Discourse could be as abrasive as it is now but generally was fairly cordial. Top posting was heresy. By the late 90s the sheer volume became overwhelming. That and by 1994 I had finished university and no longer had the luxury of time to spend on it too. And I decoupled entirely. Tried to get into it again via Google Groups in the early zeros. But it wasn't the same. AOL chat rooms. And how people started off being reasonably friendly and would offer you virtual tea, toast or donuts when you entered the room. Too bad the novelty wore off so quickly. I loved using ICQ too, though that's not so very early. Neopets. Talking to the AIM chatbot. Smarter child. Waiting for porn JPEGs to load on screen pixel by pixel. It really made me appreciate what I was looking at as opposed to now with high-speed HD FAP and pass. No ads. No Facebook or social media beyond bulletin boards. No attention horses or encouragement of developing a social presence. You were a username and beyond that no one gave a shit what you had, did or looked like. People were thicker skinned back then too. You didn't have to double think everything for fear of causing offense. Sites were largely unregulated and free of political correctness, but somehow, it all worked just fine. Probably because hardly anyone was online and those who were just wanted to play Doom, share wares and find GeoCities porn sites. The Wild West feeling it used to have. Feels like you can't just explore anymore. The free coasters AOL kept sending me. Minimalistic site design. Nowadays when I open some random site it feels like browsing from TankVisor. Pointless white space on the left. Ad banner on top taking 1/3 of the height. Has anyone been to FanWikis recently? These WoW ads are ducking insane. Some kind of disclaimer at the bottom and mandatory subscribe box on the right. Enjoy your 10 rows of text at a time. Duck you. Miniclip. Laughing at people who had Tom as their top friend on MySpace. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.